Alice, we're just after leaving a packed room in the Clayton Hotel, Burlington Road. Loads of industry there to hear from you and colleagues about the Tourism Ireland marketing plans for the year ahead. Tell us a little bit about those plans.
Well, it has been a wonderful morning and so grateful to see so many industry colleagues gathered because whilst we love sharing our marketing plans, they really only come to life in partnership with all of the wonderful industry who deliver on the ground. So it's been a great morning. And it's really our moment at the start of each year to share with everybody what's coming up, both in terms of strategies, and then also in terms of actual activities that people can tap into, markets that people can access through our teams overseas.
And what's new for 2026? Because as you say, you do this event, this flagship event, which we all enjoy at the start of each year, but each year kind of poses new challenges and new opportunities. So kind of what's new from your perspective for the year ahead?
Well, do you know what? Let's start on that topic of challenges and opportunities and then what's new in order to answer some of those. We'll start on the positives. I mean, I think there's still very strong interest in coming to Ireland. Over 70% of our overseas audiences say they'd be interested in coming sometime. It helps that we've been winning awards over the past year, with Tipperary named by Lonely Planet as a top 5 place to visit, or the island of Ireland winning awards with Wanderlust. We've still got a very warm welcome in that about 1 in 10 people in Ireland are employed within tourism and hospitality. And as a result, people tend to be very welcoming of visitors. In fact, 9 out of 10 people in the general community say tourism is good for their county. So those are strengths, I think, structural strengths. We know that there still needs to be a sort of final resolution to the Dublin airport cap, and government have committed to that. But it is, of course, on pause at the moment. And we're already seeing the opportunities from that, in that island-wide, inclusive of Northern Ireland, will have a 12% increase in air seats flying to our island this winter and spring compared to last winter and spring, including
that's great. And if you think an island nation, it's self-evident that it's all about air access and sea access in terms of overseas tourism.
It's so important, and we always keep a close eye on making sure that those flights are bringing people in, not just flying people out. And so it's really positive to see that within that we've got strong increases in seat capacity from the US, Germany, France, and Great Britain. So that's our top 4 markets. So those are the opportunities. But of course, we need to talk about challenges. I think some of the things that came up over the past year were market concentration. How do we make sure we're appealing to a range of different markets and that we're therefore future fit, no matter what's going on in geopolitics in the world? Cost, of course, for businesses on the ground. Everybody's grateful for the 9% VAT rate, but it's still a topic because businesses are so keen to make sure they've healthy margins and can therefore be competitive for overseas visitors who can, of course, choose to go anywhere in the world. And we want to win them to our island. And then just the general uncertainty. Eoghan, the headlines at the start of this year have flagged up that uncertainty isn't going away for consumers in terms of what's happening. And last year we saw that about a quarter of overseas consumers said it's just too uncertain to book a holiday right now. But the good news is 2/3 say they'll still prioritize overseas travel. And that's the opportunity we want to tap into, is people still feeling like, do you know what, an overseas holiday is important to me. So our marketing intends to make Ireland top of that list.
Just going back to your point about cost and price, and Ireland it's a Northern European destination at this stage. It's not going to be the cheapest destination that a consumer can go to. Do consumers, and you do a lot of research overseas, do they still find Ireland value for money? Are we still okay on that front? Because I know there's a huge sort of obligation for the industry to provide a really compelling experience.
Yeah, great question and great points that you've raised. So absolutely, when we survey consumers overseas, they see Ireland as being roughly in line for value for money with other Northern European destinations. So we're seen as, in line with or slightly better than places like England or Switzerland or Norway, but maybe not as good value as places like Italy. Now, generally, concerns about cost have risen as consumer uncertainty has risen, not specific to Ireland, but across all destinations. Consumers are more sensitive to cost. So it becomes even more important that we're targeting the kind of visitors who have funds to spend on regular overseas travel, and that we're proving out the value point, because value is distinct from price. We can show people that at our price point, we are going to offer an incredibly memorable, authentic trip of a lifetime, and it's therefore worth coming to us. So I think really it is about proving we're worth it at this point, targeting the right people and showcasing the wonderful experiences that you can have, from the clifftop walks through to the traditional session in the local pub, through to our amazing food scene.
Yeah. You mentioned market concentration a couple of minutes ago, and obviously we know that the US market in particular is so important to Irish tourism, and please God, we can deepen and defend that and grow it further. But we do need to fish from other ponds, don't we? So what's your thoughts on market diversification and trying to target some of those new and emerging markets? There's no switch that can be flicked or magic wand that can be waved, but we can start moving in that direction, can't we?
Yes, and there is a whole government plan on market diversification, which Tourism Ireland has a number of deliverables within that, and we're glad to have received some funding to help us go after those deliverables. Deepening and defending in the US and indeed Great Britain is important, because one is our biggest market from a visitor spend point of view. The other is our biggest market from a visitor volume point of view. Yeah. And we're not done in those markets. I mean, with the US, it's worth keeping in mind that whereas we had about, 15 gateways flying to Ireland 10 years ago, we now have more like 25, 26. Raleigh-Durham in North Carolina, as an example, is launching this year. North Carolina has a population of 11 million people, so it's a whole other market.
Like a small European nation in itself.
Right. So we want to do justice to that access, keep that air connectivity, and win from the US, but it can't be only the US, as exactly you say, or can't be only Great Britain. So we're increasing our investment in growth markets like Canada, for example. We will be investing more in mainland Europe. It's a population of sort of 450 million people on our doorstep. Yeah. And we need to elevate perceptions in Europe as regards what the island of Ireland offers, to show them that we offer high-end and premium holidays. And if there are legacy notions about what kind of destination Ireland is, that we're appealing to a different higher end consumer in Europe. And then there are fantastic nascent markets that we're excited about for the long-term future. I'm just back from China at the beginning of the year, where we had very fruitful conversations with airlines like Hainan Airlines, for example, who fly direct from Beijing to Dublin and provide 50,000 seat capacity flying to Dublin each year. Yeah. They're looking to expand with us. We spoke with Trip.com. They are the biggest online booking platform in China and most of Asia. So elevating how findable Ireland is on that platform is a great way to scale also. And we also were happy to have the opportunity to introduce the Taoiseach to local tour operators in China who program Ireland. But I think to your point on flicking a switch, we have to be honest with ourselves that we're not going to find that China or India take the place of the US in terms of visitor revenue next year. It's a long-term play to build up the kind of air access, the kind of partnerships that will build up our business from these markets over the long term. And we're very excited to lean into that while keeping existing markets strong. And also, as we said, launching that new plan for mainland Europe and more investment in Canada.
Yeah, great. You're a marketing agency, obviously, so promoting Ireland and the Irish kind of positioning Ireland within the consumer mindset is so important. Is there any new creative or new channels that you're pursuing this year that will be of interest to us?
Absolutely. So we've just launched a new campaign overseas called Ireland Goes Beyond. And it's all about appealing to what we call our enrichment explorers, the segment that we go after, showing them that Ireland is a place of connection where you refresh your perspectives based on connections with people and places. And that campaign launched in the past few weeks. We've already seen 20 million euros worth of incremental bookings with partners off the back of promotions and activities around it, and that will build through the year. So we were excited to share that at the marketing plans launch today. In addition to advertising, it's always wonderful when others speak for us because there's a credibility to that. So we've got some wonderful new broadcast shows that Tourism Ireland has co-produced, launching. We've got a second series of Dermot O'Leary's Taste of Ireland, which is all about culinary tourism, actually, through Northern Ireland and into Donegal and Sligo. That will be on ITV in Great Britain. We have a new series with the Kemps. Older generation might remember Spandau Ballet. Younger generation, I'm told, are all about Roman Kemp, who is Martin Kemp's son. But they're traveling around. And then Ronan Keating will be filming a show all along the Wild Atlantic Way with us. So that's just a sample from Great Britain. But those programming opportunities across all our markets can be really powerful. Newer channels, social and digital, we've been very active in for a number of years. AI plays an increasing role. So among our overseas consumers, 30% now say they have experimented with generative AI, things like ChatGPT, in order to build holiday itineraries. So whilst building on Ireland.com, our website, we'll also be optimizing that website so that ChatGPT is pulling from it and is becoming very expert on all there is to see and do across the island of Ireland for when people go straight to AI. And social remains really powerful too. We've 7.5 million followers across languages and markets. We post daily, and we're focused on 500,000 active engagements from those users and followers each month.
Great. And putting all that together and all that brilliant work in overseas, do you have a sort of a growth aspiration this year that industry can sort of take on board and maybe, take back to their own business?
Absolutely. So, the value of overseas tourism coming onto the island of Ireland is in the region of 6 billion euros per annum. We want to grow that to 10 billion euros per annum by 2031, which implies an average 6% year-over-year growth rate off a 2024 base. So we were a little below that. Last year, the start of the year was quite soft and volatile, as we know, both with the cap in place, but also everything that was going on with tariff announcements and so on. The good news was that we strengthened through the year last year. So from August onwards, we had consecutive months of visitor growth, and we want to fuel that, keep that going. So some years will be above the 6%, some years will be below, but we want to target generally, on average, out to 2031, a 6% growth rate. And, there are lots of other goals that we shared that support that, and that are relevant to industry too. So, for example, we will be committing to helping 33% more industry, particularly tourism SMEs, to promote themselves overseas this year versus last year. We're committing to ensuring our events and promotions overseas help those businesses build 300 million euros worth of tourism pipeline. So we're bringing in a lot more of those commercial measures that sit underneath the top line target in order to support tourism businesses on the ground in what they do to promote themselves overseas.
And of course, there's a new CEO of Fáilte Ireland, Caroline Bockel, who just started in December. We heard from her today as well. And I presume that relationship with Fáilte Ireland remains as close as ever.
Absolutely. It's wonderful to have Caroline on board. And, within 2 weeks of Caroline joining, she and I shared a road trip from Fermanagh to Dublin, and we covered a lot of ground on that car journey, and it's continued since. But I suppose, Fáilte Ireland are such a key partner to us. If you think of Tourism Ireland focused on marketing the island of Ireland overseas, the product development and industry development on the ground that Fáilte Ireland do, as well as the domestic focus, is so important. And it's almost like if we were private sector, you've got your product team and your marketing team. And so we have to be very, very closely aligned for it all to work. And we value the partnership so deeply. So it was wonderful to hear from Caroline today, and we can't wait to work with her.
Great. Well, listen, thank you so much, Alice. There was great buzz and excitement in the room today. And I know there's loads of macroeconomic and geopolitical uncertainty out there, but I think the industry is cautiously optimistic about the year ahead. And I think the demand stimulation measures that you and your colleagues in Tourism Ireland do is really hugely appreciated. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Eoghan. Do you know what? I have a guilty feeling that I never fully answered your question at the very beginning of all of this, where you said, what's new? And we went into opportunities and challenges, and we went around the houses. So I might come back to your initial question to close, if I may, around what's new. And some of what's new is supporting the Minister's new tourism policy. a new era for Irish tourism. We've got a new corporate plan for the next 3 years. Within that, there is more focus on growing across diverse source markets, as well as competing to win those higher end value adding visitors. We're focusing not just on shoulder seasons now, but year round tourism, because the season genuinely does stretch from April to October for many tourism businesses now, particularly if you look at things like hotel occupancy, that bears that out, that we've come a long way. And now it's about making sure there's year-round appeal and appeal across regions. Sustainability will remain a focus, and Ireland Goes Beyond will be back in May with new itineraries. We talked about our new campaign to appeal to consumers, new publicity efforts, the focus on AI. There's a couple of new themes within what we're doing as well. For example, culinary tourism, and then the increased focus on partnerships, both air and sea carrier partnerships to bring in folks from overseas, our new tour operator partnerships, and then increasing our ambition, as we said, on how we help SMEs on the ground to promote themselves overseas. And we're setting ourselves a target of helping 1,000 tourism SMEs, which is a 33% increase, as we said, on the prior target. And last but not least, our own team. We're currently based in Dublin, Coleraine, and 14 overseas markets, from Sydney to Shanghai, and from Copenhagen to San Francisco, and so on. But we will actually be extending our presence into a couple more markets as the year goes on, and strengthening our presence in some of those nascent markets like China also. So that's just some of what's coming up. But again, I'm so grateful to you and all your members, because we couldn't tell the story of what Ireland offers overseas without all the incredible foundational work that you and your members do. So bravo to you also.
Thank you, Alice. And you've your hands full, but thank you for all your hard work. Chat to you soon.
Thank you.